Liam considered his past life deplorable and pathetic, at least in his own eyes, and yet he had a loving wife and a daughter. With them, he could be happy and face any difficulty head on. One day, his daughter asked for a dog, so the three of them went out together to buy one for her. They looked like a happy family. They were the only real light in his life. The company he worked for was toxic and exploitative. His awful boss worked him like a dog, and his subordinates openly mocked him. They would take credit for his accomplishments and blame him for mistakes he hadn't made. Still, despite it all, his family gave him the strength to keep going. He ran himself into the ground with work, all to keep them happy. And yet, one day, while heading out to meet a friend, he saw his wife at a cafe with another man. She was supposed to be taking their daughter to her sports club that day. He didn't even recognize the man she was with. Back at home, he asked her how the sports club went. She said their daughter won a sword fighting match that day, and even got the child to help cover the lie. But Liam didn't want to believe it. Surely he had just misunderstood. His wife would never be unfaithful. Not her of all people. But when he visited the same cafe again, this time he saw both his wife and their daughter. And he heard his daughter call the other man Papa, the same man his wife had been with. Again, he couldn't believe it. That had to be a friend. Just a friend. Someone playing the role of father because Liam was always too busy with work. That had to be it. Back at work, Liam receives a call from his wife. Their daughter has been in an accident. She needs surgery. When the doctor comes out of the operating room, he informs them that the child needs a blood transfusion. Can one of them donate? After asking for their blood types, the doctor finds out that Liam is AB positive, while his wife is O positive. So she is selected to donate. But something about that doesn't sit right with Liam. When he looks at the blood type chart, he realizes that if the child were really his, it would be impossible for her to have type O blood. At that moment, everything clicks and he finally breaks. He demands to know who the real father is. He admits he had been trying not to ask, but he can't hold it in anymore. His wife, however, insists that he is the one who has misunderstood the situation. She says she had been the one trying not to lash out. In her view, he hasn't cared about their family at all, working overtime every day, even on weekends, coming home only to sleep. There's never any time for conversation, and his presence in their home feels non-existent. She argues that his job hasn't done them any good. No promotions, no raises, only small bonuses, and hardly any savings. Their daughter needs a proper education, and they cannot afford one. She reminds him of the happiness he promised her when they got married, and points out that in over 10 years, he's hardly been there. While he was always gone, she had done all the housework, raised their daughter, and lived her life completely alone. In her eyes, the life she shares with their daughter is theirs alone. He simply isn't part of that home anymore. She declares she's taking their daughter and leaving, and she doesn't even have to say where. They are going to the girl's real father. Liam, desperate, tries to stop them. He pleads with his daughter to remember that he was there, that she wants to stay with him, but the girl says she likes the other papa better. But unfortunately, his misfortunes don't end there. Back at the office, his boss discovers that 50 million yen had been transferred from the company's funds to a random account, and the system logs showed the transaction came from Liam's PC. It turns out that while he was away, because of his supposed daughter's accident, a co-worker used his computer to carry out the transfer. Still, he was held responsible, accused of embezzlement, and fired on the spot. His wife used this incident as an excuse to file for divorce, gain full custody of their daughter, and demand child support. Left with nothing, Liam took up work in the construction industry. He and the company agreed that he would repay the money lost, allowing him to avoid legal action. But at what cost? With that amount of debt, how was he ever supposed to pay it all back? But once again, his misery deepens. Liam is diagnosed with an incurable disease. He had always believed that if he just worked hard enough, things would eventually get better, that he might even see his daughter again. He knows she isn't really his child, but still, he believes his sacrifices must count for something. Yet now, he cannot afford treatment. He has no health insurance, no access to loans, And even if he could borrow money, he wouldn't be able to repay it. Just then, he begins to experience something like a vision or a dream. In it, he sees that the person who actually transferred the funds was his own boss. He also sees his ex-wife dining in a fancy restaurant and learns that the true father of the child is none other than that same boss. It becomes clear that this was all part of a calculated plan. His ex-wife had arranged everything to dump the debt onto Liam, while also forcing him to pay child support. She sees it as the least he can do, since he got to marry and live with her for a time. In her mind, making money is all he's good for. The child was never meant to be his. She never needed a child with a man like him. Overwhelmed with anger, Liam clings to the hope that this is just a bad dream. But then some kind of god or whatever it is tells him that this is reality. He lived such a hard life, working himself to the bone. And yet, all along, it was nothing but lies. Can people really get away with doing something so evil? No, they can't. Liam swears he will get revenge. The god says he's taken an interest in Liam because he's a good man. But Liam is done being good. If he gets a second life, he wants to live however he pleases. This time he will live for himself, as a villain who walks all over everyone else. To that, the god has good news. He's here to grant Liam a new life. He even lets him choose the world where he'd like to be reincarnated. Liam chooses one with robots and space battleships. That's what he and his friends used to talk about the most. The god explains that it's a sci-fi fantasy world with both advanced technology and magic. Feudalism still thrives there, and the world is ruled by royals and nobles. He will make sure Liam is born into the house of a count who rules an entire planet. Liam loves the sound of that. If he is being born into nobility, then forget everyone else. He will live for his own happiness and do whatever he wants. He will rule with an iron fist and be as evil as he pleases. And so he does. We see him absolutely annihilate enemy ships he chose at random. Bullying the weak feels amazing to him. He demands to be entertained. His enemies must amuse their evil lord, the great Liam. What he didn't expect, though, is that by destroying enemies of his own planet, he ends up being loved by everyone. He even gains allies who fight by his side and would give their lives for him. Still, Liam thinks nothing beats the feeling of crushing the weak without mercy. It reminds him that he's powerful, that he stands alone at the summit of evil. This is his revenge on his former life.